Yes. Alright guys, I'll catch you later. See you next time. No, for real though, hey guys, how you going? Obviously the Xion EX deal is back into the shop. It's a 5-pull Mercy, which I believe is the first time we've ever had a 5-pull Mercy for Illustrated Xion EX. It's really good, obviously, and it comes boosted as well, which I think is a bit of bait, because I saw it was boosted, and I was like, oh cool, I have to get that, and then I was like, wait, do I? It's not really going to make any of a difference, is it? But we'll talk about that in a second. First and foremost though, this video is mainly aimed towards probably newer players that may have picked up the game after the big hype that came up when she was first being announced, along with her, you know, upright doppelganger Kairi. Just because I think a lot of veteran players take for granted the fact that this game is pretty complicated in terms of its buffs and debuffs and whatever else. So the fact that she needs to be on pretty much every Keyblade setup at the front, no matter what the slot attribute actually is, it's kind of taken for granted by a lot of people such as myself. And I just really want to reinforce for any new players watching this. This medal is incredible, and also Kairi EX is incredible. You almost need to have one of them. It is almost mandatory to have one of them to beat any of the content in this game, like any of the high level content. So let's talk about what she does. Okay, at the current moment, ignoring pet level 9 just for now, a stat can be either buffed or debuffed to plus or minus 7. So keeping that in mind, let's have a look at the buffs that Xion gives off. So she gives off the full amount of strength, general strength, which is plus 7. She gives out 6 out of the 7 stages of your power, speed, and magic. She gives out 2 out of the 7 of your reverse. She gives you a cure, and she gives you plus 5 to your gauges. To the enemy, she takes away -3 out of the possible -7 to their general defense, which is a hugely overlooked stat when people are building Keyblade setups sometimes. Enemies these days have general defense that is into the hundreds of thousands, right? And if you can't get your attacking number, the amount of total number of attack you're able to put out, and I've got to do a video on the damage formula one day just so people fully understand what's going on here. I've been planning it for months, like a billion of my videos. Anyway, if you can't get your attacking number over their defense number, you will always deal just 1 friggin' damage. So general defense has to come down before you can start dealing any sort of damage to the high level enemies. But anyway, she also gives rid of -4 to also their power, speed, and magic based defense, which is also an important factor, as well as adding 1 to the counter of enemies that have counters over their head. Okay, so think about that kind of medal. I've talked about this forever ago, but if you use a copycat medal in addition to that, you are pretty much maxed out except for your reverse buff and almost your general defense of all the buffs and debuffs that you can have for strength and power, speed, and magic based strength and defense. It's ridiculous how much you can get away with just 1 medal and 1 copy. Or if you're really lucky, 1 medal and 1 extra attack. It's absolutely incredible. The fact that it also costs 0 means it can be used literally anywhere. It's very, very, very good. Okay, I don't think I need to go over that enough. I mean, the amount of power you can get from having this medal cannot be understated. But it is a buffing medal. It will, like, you'll see people using it, and it will deal an absolute ton of damage. But it's dealing so much damage because it's got a world of buffs behind it. I mean, you guys probably can't see that, but I think they list the buff strength in here, which is like 4.53 or something. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully you guys can see that, 4.53. So the multiplier itself isn't overly high, but the fact is that it can just get away with dealing so much damage when it's even without guilting the thing, just because of how many freaking buffs it's giving away with it. Yeah, it cannot be stated enough, new players, that this thing is incredible. So, should you pull for it, is the question. If you don't have either Kairi or Xion by now, this is so far the best way of getting it. The fact that it's a 5-pull Mercy is fantastic. The only possible way of beating this is if it was a 5-pull Mercy with a falling price. That could still happen. That's still within the realm of possibility. They've brought Kairi back a couple of times now, but they haven't brought Xion back. This is the first time she's arrived in a 5-pull Mercy, so I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but if this comes back in another couple of weeks, in exactly the same form of banner, or possibly even a better form, like a falling price banner, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be pretty happy with it. Am I going to pull for it myself, personally? Given that I already have Kairi EX, and I've just been on an absolute spending spree lately, I don't think I can justify it, because I know I'm going to do another 5 pulls, well, hopefully less, but another 5 pulls for KHUx 16 down here. So, I still cannot help shake the feeling though. And you guys are going to call me crazy. I know officially they've said they're not going to do this, but come on. They've done it a few times before. I wouldn't put it past them. Now that the global version of the game is pretty much caught up to the Japanese version, if not in front of it at some points. I mean, except for story mode, we're like 7 months behind the story mode. But anyway, the fact that in terms of medals, we are more or less caught up to the Japanese version, and the fact that we've just had this Vexen deal and the KHUx 16 deal on our anniversary, designed to get all these jewels out of us, what better time would there be to release a brand new Kari, incarnation of Kari? Doesn't it seem just like him to be like, here, I have, you know, Xion. All these people who missed out on Xion, it's finally your turn. And just get those last few jewels out of people that have been saving up. And then be like, bam, new Kari, here it is. I mean, people would riot. People would absolutely scream bloody murder, but I could see them doing it. It wouldn't be the first time they've done something like that. I'm gonna try and not go below 30,000 jewels, just in case like a 10 pull mercy for a medal like that comes along. And you can call me paranoid, that's completely fine, but that's how I'm gonna keep playing it, I think. I think I'm gonna go with that pulling for quite a while again, just because I can just see it. I can just see it now. Like, oh. God, people would be furious, but I don't know, who knows if it's gonna happen. I mean, again, if you're a new player that doesn't have either Kari or Xion, even if a new one was to come out tomorrow, I mean, it'd still be worth it, right? At the current buff cap we're currently at, this does so much work. This does so much work to filling up all those buffs and debuffs. The only thing it doesn't do, and this is interesting, the only thing it doesn't do is give you the full amount of reverse buff and touch at all the reverse debuff. It doesn't also give you that additional 30% guilt, which some medals are doing right now. What is really worth noting though, is that they seem to be putting out medals that could almost go ahead and you could build a setup without actually needing a Kari or a Xion in it. Take for example, like let's say the Mickey that we talked about the other day. Sorry for the old setup, but you can see it here. That little young Mickey B there, right? He gives you full amount of +7 strength, +7 power, and +3 upright, okay? Combine that with a medal that takes away tons of general defense, okay? And combine that with a medal that does some upright defensive debuffs. Before too long, you're dealing a good amount of damage because these medals have really good multipliers, but you're also getting like all the buffs. It's taking you a bit longer to get there, but eventually you're sort of building up towards, you know, so by the end, you have all the buffs that you need if you're running a single attribute set. That's the thing, Shion and Kari are the master of jack of all trades medals. You can put them at the front of any Keyblade slot, and maybe a copycat medal in front or behind it, and you can run any 5 medals behind it nowadays, and know that they're going to receive the full complement of buffs and debuffs that they need to excel. It's absolutely... that is the power of it. The fact that if you buy this medal once and you have a copycat medal, you know that you're pretty much set for any Keyblade setup that you need. It's a one-time investment to make yourself extremely powerful for all your setups. Now, what I'm trying to get at here with these young Mickey Bs, and the way I can see them going, if you have like a setup that has, you know, like young Mickey B at the front, which you wouldn't really do because it takes away all your gauges, and it's not meant to be for that, but just hear me out for a second. If you had a medal that gave you all those buffs, and then you had like a Cloud EX Plus, which, or sorry, a Sephiroth EX Plus, what's the one? No, the other Sephiroth EX, the Sephiroth EX. What am I talking about? Took me a while to find it, but this one right here, the Sephiroth EX one that gets rid of all the power-based defense as well as getting rid of some attribute-based defense. Or rather, if you had the Cloud version of that instead, which does all that but upright. Imagine if you were to do that, and you're combining all these different buffs and debuffs into one setup, and by the end, you've got your full complement of buffs and debuffs, but you've also dealt good damage along the way, and you also didn't have to rely on a Kari or a Shion. The only thing you'd be missing out on at that point is basically your gauge, restore, and the heal, I suppose, but I think they're going to be trying to move towards how do we possibly replace Kari or Shion without putting another one into the game. I think that's the conundrum they've sort of built for themselves now, where the only way to replace this basically is either to make a superior version of it, and in which case we just play the waiting game forever, waiting for more and more superior versions of Kari or Shion, or you make people specialize their setups again. You make Keyblades like Fenrir or Darknor or whatever, single attribute Keyblades, useful again, so long as you have all the requisite medals to make it so. Like, you need to have your general strength up, obviously, so you have a medal like, you know, like I said, the new young Mickey B, even though, again, it doesn't really fit, but you get what I'm getting at. You get those buffs, and you combine it with like a Cloud EX Plus, where you get the correct debuffs going, and you combine it with another medal that gets rid of general defense, and before too long, you've built yourself a Keyblade that does all the buffing and debuffing, as well as getting some good damage in there as well. I think that's what they're going towards, but I could be totally wrong. Oh, by the way, if you guys can't actually see what I'm going for here with this background, like if it's too hard to read the text, just let me know and I'll change it up a bit. I've been playing around with this setup a little bit, so hopefully you guys like it. It's definitely better than, well, definitely better than the thing you just saw before with the ugly blue behind it. But alright, so just to finish up, if you're a newer player or even an older player that doesn't have a Kari or a Xion yet, and you somehow have 15,000 jewels left over that you didn't spend on the previous banners, then yeah, pretty much go for it. Like, even if a new one comes out tomorrow, you won't really be kicking yourself that much because they'll probably make it a 15 or 30 or whatever poor mercy, and you could just go ahead and be chasing that without any fruition anyway. So better to pull off this and be guaranteed to get it. The fact that it's boosted doesn't really matter too much, again, because it's a buffer, not really, you know, the fact that you'll get a slight amount of more defense, which doesn't really matter at all in the grand scheme of things in this game. The fact that you'll get a tiny bit more offense doesn't really mean anything when, if you're going to have this at the front of a Keyblade, it's going to be doing 1 damage regardless, because you won't have had time to debuff all the enemy street defense anyway. So even if you were to use it offensively, you wouldn't. You'd have second chance or defense boost on it, sure, but the boost basically means nothing. It's kind of a marketing gimmick, which it nearly worked on me. I was like, ooh, boosted, ooh, what's this? And then I realized, oh wait, that doesn't actually mean anything for a medal like this. If you're a veteran player who's already got Kari EX, yeah, it's your call. I mean, I haven't got, me personally, I don't have any really reverse buffing medals, like none of the new EXs that could take advantage of it. So I'm not crying out for a reverse buffer, but if you somehow picked up, like, I don't know, dual wield Roxas in like a random EX banner pool, or the new Sephiroth EX Plus, or the new Vanitas EX Plus, or whatever, or you're a VIP player that's looking at getting Master Xehanort every single week for the next 7 weeks, then if you're crying out for a buffer, yeah, you pretty much want to do this. Like I said, for me, I'm pretty happy to wait it out because I don't need one right this second, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to leave you with it before I keep rambling too long. Let's do one more disappointing Moogle pull, and I'll make it big for you guys real quick. But yeah, let me know. Are you guys going to go for it, pulling for it? What's your reasoning behind either pulling, skipping, or waiting, or whatever? If this is a beast, again, I will flip the frick out. It's just as bad, but at least it's not a beast. Alright guys, with that disappointing pull, I'll catch you next time. All the best. Bye.